My name is Sarah Collins. I'm 25 years old, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. Until a few months ago, my life was pretty ordinary. I worked as an event planner, enjoyed weekend hikes in the Rockies, and spent my evenings curled up with my cat Milo. But everything changed one fateful afternoon at work. What started as a routine day ended in an accident that would completely redefine everything I thought I knew about life, death, and what lies beyond. It was an ordinary Tuesday, the kind that blends into every other workday. I was in the middle of a presentation when a sudden malfunction in the office's electrical system caused a piece of heavy equipment to topple. I remember the flash of panic, the deafening crash, and then, nothing. At least, that's what I thought at first. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my office anymore. In fact, I wasn't even sure I was in the same universe. The first thing I noticed was the light, not harsh or blinding, but soft and golden, radiating warmth and peace. I seemed to be standing in the middle of an endless expanse, the ground beneath me shimmering like a sea of glass and silver. The air was filled with a melody unlike anything I'd ever heard. Not quite music, not quite words, but something that resonated deep within my soul. I took a hesitant step forward, and that's when I saw him. A figure emerged from the golden light, radiating a presence so overwhelming that I felt my knees buckle. Yet, despite the sheer magnitude of his presence, there was an undeniable kindness in his eyes. He looked at me as though he had known me forever. "Sarah," he said, his voice a perfect blend of authority and compassion. "You've arrived." Tears welled up in my eyes, though I wasn't sure why. "Who are you?" I whispered, though deep down, I already knew. "I am Jesus," he replied, his voice filling every corner of the space around us. "And I have been waiting to speak with you." The realization hit me like a tidal wave. I was dead. But instead of fear or sadness, I felt a profound sense of peace. This wasn't the end, it was something entirely new. Jesus extended his hand, and as I took it, a flood of emotions washed over me: love, acceptance, forgiveness. Every worry, every regret I'd ever carried seemed to dissolve in that moment. "Come," he said, "there is much to discuss." We began to walk, though walking felt different here. It was as if each step brought us closer to understanding rather than a destination. The landscape around us shifted, morphing into scenes from my life. I saw myself as a child, laughing with my parents. I saw moments of kindness, giving food to a homeless man, comforting a grieving friend. Moments primers de long forgotten. "You've lived with a good heart, Sarah," Jesus said, "but no life is without its struggles." I nodded, guilt creeping in as scenes of my mistakes played out before us, times I'd hurt others, acted selfishly, or let fear dictate my actions. "I've tried to be good," I admitted, "but I've failed so many times." Jesus stopped and turned to me, his gaze piercing yet gentle. "Failure is part of the human journey. It is not your failures that define you, but what you learn from them and how you choose to move forward." His words felt like a balm to my soul. "Why am I here?" I asked. "Why now?" "Because your journey is not yet over," he said. "You have been given this moment to see, to understand, and to prepare." We continued walking, and the scenery transformed again. I found myself in what looked like a vast library, the walls stretching infinitely in all directions. Books floated around us, their covers shimmering with an otherworldly light. "What is this place?" I asked, awestruck. "This is the record of humanity," Jesus explained. "Every thought, every action, every choice is written here. It is a testament to the complexity and beauty of free will." I reached out to touch one of the books, and as I did, it opened to a page filled with my own handwriting. Memories and moments I'd long forgotten spilled out, each one carrying a lesson I hadn't fully understood until now. "Why show me this?" I asked. "Because understanding your past is the key to shaping your future," he said. "But there is more to see." As we left the library, the light around us grew even brighter, as if the very essence of love and hope were woven into its fabric. Jesus began to speak again, this time about the nature of humanity. Sarah, the world you left is filled with both light and darkness. He said, your actions, no matter how small they may seem, contribute to the balance between light and darkness. Never underestimate the power of kindness, forgiveness, and love. These are the forces that sustain the universe. His words resonated deeply, filling me with a renewed sense of purpose, yet questions lingered in my mind. What happens next? I asked. Will I stay here? Jesus smiled, though his expression held a hint of mystery. All in good time, Sarah. For now, let us walk a little further. The golden expanse stretched endlessly before us, and though I didn't know what lay ahead, I felt an unshakable trust in the path we were walking. For the first time in my life or death, I understood what it meant to truly surrender and have faith. As we continued walking, I noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The warmth and serenity remained, but there was an undertone of gravity in Jesus' expression. It felt as though we were approaching a profound truth, something I was meant to see and understand. Sarah, Jesus began, his voice filled with both sorrow and resolve, the world you left behind is facing a pivotal time. Humanity's choices have led to an imbalance that must be addressed. The shimmering landscape around us began to change, morphing into scenes of earth. It was as if we were looking through a divine lens, witnessing moments across time and space. At first, I saw beauty, acts of kindness, people helping one another, and moments of joy. But then the images darkened. I saw war zones, cities reduced to rubble, families torn apart. I saw greed and corruption, leaders exploiting the vulnerable. I saw the faces of children, their eyes hollow with hunger and despair. Tears streamed down my face as the weight of these visions settled in my heart. Why is this happening? I whispered, barely able to speak. Free will, Jesus replied. It is both a gift and a responsibility. Humanity has been given the freedom to choose, but with that freedom comes consequences. Many have chosen paths of darkness, driven by fear, pride, and hatred. He paused, allowing me to absorb his words. But not all is lost. Even in the darkest times, there is light. There are those who fight for justice, who spread love and hope. They are the reminders that goodness still exists. The scene shifted again, this time showing people standing up against oppression, communities coming together to rebuild after disasters, and individuals offering compassion to strangers. These moments of light shone brightly against the backdrop of darkness. What can be done? I asked, desperate for an answer. How can things change? Jesus turned to me, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and determination. It begins with awareness and action. Each person must look within and choose to be a force for good. Small acts of kindness can ripple outward, creating waves of change. But there is also a need for accountability and courage to confront the systems and ideologies that perpetuate harm. As he spoke, I felt a surge of responsibility. His words ignited something within me, a call to action that I couldn't ignore. I want to help, I said. Tell me what I can do. He gave me a small smile, one that carried both hope and a challenge. Your willingness is the first step, but there is more for you to understand. The visions faded, and we found ourselves in a vast garden unlike anything I'd ever seen. The air was filled with the scent of blossoms, and the ground was covered in vibrant, otherworldly flowers. In the center of the garden stood a tree, its branches stretching endlessly into the sky. Its leaves shimmered with a light that seemed to pulse with life. This is the tree of choices, Jesus explained. Each leaf represents a decision made by humanity. Some bring life and growth, others bring decay and destruction. I approached the tree, marveling at its beauty and complexity. As I reached out to touch one of the leaves, a surge of energy coursed through me. I saw flashes of choices made throughout history, from the smallest acts of kindness to monumental decisions that shaped the fate of nations. The weight of it all was overwhelming. Why show me this? I asked, turning back to Jesus. Because understanding the power of choice is essential, he said. Every decision, no matter how insignificant it may seem, contributes to the greater tapestry of existence. You must see how deeply your choices matter. The choices we make shape the tapestry of existence, for better or worse. I took a deep breath, trying to process everything I'd seen and felt. So what now? I asked. Jesus gestured for me to sit beside him under the tree of choices. As we sat, the garden seemed to come alive, the colors growing more vibrant, the air filled with a harmonious melody. Now we reflect, he said. Tell me, Sarah, what do you believe is the greatest challenge facing humanity? The question caught me off guard. After a moment of thought, I answered, I think it's the inability to see beyond ourselves. So many people are consumed by their own struggles and desires that they forget about the bigger picture. They forget about others. Jesus nodded. Selfishness and separation are indeed great challenges. But remember, Sarah, that empathy and unity have the power to overcome them. It is not an easy path, but it is a necessary one. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of our conversation sinking in. Though I felt a sense of peace in this place, I couldn't shake the urgency of the messages Jesus was sharing. The world was in peril, and the time for change was now. There is one more thing I must show you, Jesus said, rising to his feet. He extended his hand to me, and as I took it, the garden began to fade. The golden light returned, enveloping us in its warmth. What is it? I asked, my voice trembling with anticipation and fear. He looked at me with a solemn expression. The truth about what is to come. The light began to dissipate, revealing a new vision. It was Earth again, but not of the present or past. It was the future. I saw cities consumed by chaos, streets filled with unrest, and people crying out for justice and peace. Their voices were drowned by the clamor of conflict. Natural disasters tore through the land, leaving devastation in their wake. The air itself seemed heavy with despair, as though the planet mourned. Jesus stood beside me, his face a mixture of sorrow and resolve. Sarah, these are the consequences of humanity's choices. But remember, this is not the only path. There is still hope. As he spoke, the vision shifted. Amid the chaos, glimmers of light appeared. Individuals and communities came together, offering aid and comfort. People rebuilt, planting seeds in scorched earth and sharing what little they had with those in need. These moments of hope were like stars in a dark sky, small but powerful. These are the chosen, Jesus said, his voice filled with reverence. They are the ones who walk the path of love and sacrifice. They remind humanity of what it means to be truly alive. I turned to him, overwhelmed with questions. But how can they succeed against so much darkness? How can they bring about change when the world seems so broken? Jesus placed a hand on my shoulder, radiating reassurance. It is not their burden to fix everything. Their role is to inspire, to ignite the flame of hope in others. Change begins in the heart of each individual. When enough hearts are transformed, the world will follow. The vision shifted again, and I found myself standing on a hill overlooking a vast crowd. Jesus stood beside me, commanding yet compassionate. He raised his hand, and the crowd fell silent. To those who have ears, let them hear, he began, his voice resonating with power. The time is near. The world is at a crossroads, and each of you has a choice to make. Will you walk the path of love and righteousness, or will you succumb to fear and selfishness? Remember, what you sow, you shall also reap. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I could feel their impact ripple through the crowd, their faces reflecting a mix of conviction and uncertainty. Watching them, I realized this vision was not just for them, it was for me too. Jesus turned to me, his eyes filled with profound seriousness. Sarah, there is one more truth you must hear before you return. The golden light enveloped us once more, transporting us to a serene, otherworldly landscape. Though the air was filled with peace, urgency lingered in Jesus' demeanor. Sarah, he said, The time has come for me to reveal what lies ahead. I will return to Earth in 2025. The weight of his words struck me like a thunderclap. My mind struggled to grasp the enormity of what he had just said. You're coming back to Earth? He nodded. Yes. The time has come for the fulfillment of what has been foretold. But my return is not a solution to all the world's problems. It is a call to action, a reminder of the path humanity must take. I felt both awe and apprehension. What will happen when you return? That is for humanity to decide, he replied. My presence will shine a light on the truth, but it is up to each individual to choose how they will respond. Some will embrace the message of love and redemption. Others may resist it. The outcome depends on the hearts of those who hear. As his words sank in, I felt a profound sense of responsibility. What can I do? I asked, my voice trembling. Live as a beacon of hope, Jesus said. Share what you have seen and learned. Inspire others to seek the light within themselves. Remember, Sarah, even the smallest act of love can create ripples that reach far beyond what you can imagine. The serene landscape began to fade, replaced by the golden light. I knew our time together was coming to an end. Will I remember all of this? I asked, a note of desperation in my voice. Yes, he said gently. And when you wake, you will know what to do. The light grew brighter, enveloping everything. I felt a sensation of being pulled, as if I were being drawn back to my body. The last thing I saw was Jesus' face, filled with love and encouragement. Then I opened my eyes. I was lying in a hospital bed, the hum of machines and the soft murmur of voices grounding me in reality. My body ached, but my heart was filled with a sense of purpose unlike anything I had ever known. She's awake, someone called, and a flurry of activity surrounded me. But I barely noticed. My mind was racing with everything I had experienced. When I was finally alone, I closed my eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude. I knew my life would never be the same. I had been given a second chance, not just to live, but to make a difference. And I was determined to honor that gift. To anyone listening to this, know that you have the power to choose love, to be a force for good in the world. The path may not be easy, but it is worth it. And remember, we are never alone. The light is always with us, guiding us home.